Hey, this is Maddison Miller, and this is my outtake on the BSG game and just really what I obtained from it and my goals that I achieved, did not achieve, just how it went. Um, so my strategy that I chose for the BSG game was not necessarily strategy, but different things that I wanted to accomplish throughout this process and what I felt was right for my company. First off, I was in J Company in Industry 2. I didn't change my industry name. I'm not that creative. So my BSG strategy first was to produce a moderate to high volume of shoes, but not price them above the industry average. So I chose to price them comparable to what was going on in other industries and try to keep it at a competitive rate. I also decided to buy stock back in the company to increase my return on equity and also just keep some revenue going. When the various plants shut down in those 2 years, I also made sure to have a strategy in how I was going to buy them back and how I was going to restructure them once I did buy them back. And that way I chose to not produce as many shoes as I was before, but slowly increase those numbers as the years went on. Also chose to increase the branded production and brand advertising in my shoe companies and in those areas in which I was producing shoes in order to increase the earnings per share, the return on equity, and also to get some revenue going in those sales and push sales when I push my advertising. In that decision, I also chose not to produce shoes in countries other than North America and Asia Pacific. I decided to do this because I would rather focus my money and energy on the two that I already was producing in and make sure those were, to full capacity, make sure they were operating great, and not spend time on building up other countries and their production facilities. Just a few of my goals that I did achieve. Just coming into this game, I decided that I wanted to place within the top 3 industries at the end of the game, and I did do that. I was in 3rd, which is close, but I did obtain that goal. I also wanted to focus on keeping the prices of my shoes comparable to other industries instead of making one very expensive or very cheap. I was able to do that without hurting other aspects of my company, which I was worried about in the beginning. Making my shoes affordable might not make them as profitable as, producing an expensive shoe or producing a lot of a cheaper shoe. Some goals that I did not achieve, however, were I did not obtain and maintain the image rating that I wanted to the whole game. I chose to let my image rating suffer rather than my return on equity and my earnings per share. I felt that those two were a little bit more important in the broad scheme of things. I never let my image rating go bad or anything, but I did let it suffer a little bit. I never too bad, but I chose to focus on the monetary aspect of what my company was producing. I also did not decide on a strategy early enough in the game. That was a goal that I was hoping to achieve, but I really didn't know what was going on. It took me a while to figure out the game and what different things meant and how they affected, other aspects of the game. Like one thing might affect another thing, and it took me a while to figure that out. And I wish that I would have, decided a specific strategy early on in the game, but that was not a goal I achieved. To anyone playing this game in the future, if I were to redo this game, I did have some suggestions. I would highly recommend buying stock back earlier in the game. That allowed my company to build up some revenue. It also it was helpful in building my return on equity. It was a find that I found late in the game, but it really did help me push through those last few weeks. I would also recommend aligning your shipping destinations with the hemispheres in which they're located on the globe or on the map. That did shave me some money and cost in shipping prices. It also saved in production prices. I didn't figure that out till later in the game. That might be a good idea, but it did eventually boost my numbers and help me in the long run. I would also recommend to someone to grow their shoe production early in the game and grow when you can and when you have the funds to do it. I kind of held back a little bit and didn't realize that I could produce as many shoes as I wanted to. I wasn't paying as much attention to how much revenue I was building, and I could have really pushed that. I also would advise someone to decide on producing a large number of shoes at a low cost, or advise someone to not make as many shoes and sell them at a higher cost. Just for strategy purposes, it would align, it would make it easier to make decisions and see what your company was doing. So those are my suggestions. I did learn a lot from this game. I learned a lot about how industries operate, and that's what I have to say.